Just like to begin with a moment of just allowing yourself to become centered and to become fully present. I'm sure that your mind, as well as my mind, is full of all of the wonderful and inspirational ideas that we heard in the last hour or so. So just take a moment and just breathe into the space and just align yourself in whatever way works for you. So my intention is to just share with you a little bit of background around Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, and then to share with you an analogy that I heard from a colleague of mine, which I'm sure that we will all be able to relate to. So Dr. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Religious Science, which is now Centers for Spiritual Living. And he studied all of the great world religions and philosophy, all of the traditions that came up through the Bible, the Upanishads, the Vedas, Buddhism, the Quran, etc., etc. And he also studied the best that science had to offer in the early 20th century. He read the works of Emerson and Thoreau, and he studied the mystics, and he also followed his own intuition. And the result was a book called The Science of Mind, which was published in 1926. And in that book, there are many offerings of a practical way to approach spirituality that's free from dogma and any rigid rules of thinking. And it's totally contemporary, even with today's information that we have. Some of the better known authors of modern time, of today's time, whose writings represent a great deal of our teachings are people like Michael Bernard Beckwith, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Byron Katie, Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, and the list goes on and on. So what does New Thought teach? Simply stated, New Thought teaches the law of cause and effect, that it is done unto us as we believe, that as we sow, we do indeed reap. And while the theory of New Thought or religious science seems pretty simple, the proof of it is really in your own personal practice. So in our philosophy, we teach clear and easy ways to follow, ways to find ways to change our beliefs, to consciously change our thinking, and to set into causes, emotion, the things that we want to experience in our life. Our teaching encourages us to go within ourselves and to find the truth that will ultimately give us a sense of peace and freedom and calm. That we will get in touch with that inner wisdom of the indwelling creator, the indwelling spirit, the indwelling God. In the Science of Mind teaching, we believe that our most important responsibility is to begin a deepening of our personal relationship with God, Spirit, the universe. And we do this primarily by entering into prayer or meditation as a first choice when it comes to making decisions or seeking guidance, instead of the last resort. And that this conscious creation with the Creator helps us to overcome fear and anxiety, worry, depression, and it brings comfort to us. The second responsibility of our teaching is to bring healing to the world. Moment by moment, we are given opportunities to make choices. Will our choices be based on fear and separation, or based on love and the declaration of good? We teach love through our actions. setting healthy boundaries in our relationships, using affirming words of belief and confidence, of faith, of trust, and of goodness for all those places of illness or confusion or lack of any kind. We believe in the divinity of each human being, and that we are knowing this by recognizing that God is in action in each and every one of us. We listen to our own inner guidance, and we know the truth for ourselves. Our conscious connection to that power for good in the universe is something that gives us tools for living our daily life, for knowing that we are not alone and that the wise comforter is always available and supporting our good. And so I want to share with you a little story or a little analogy that I heard from one of my colleagues. So for a moment, just using the power of your imagination, imagine that you're sitting in a waiting room in a doctor's office, and that you are there just for your annual checkup. You feel pretty good, nothing really seems wrong, everything's normal. So you're just sitting and waiting for your appointment. Now imagine another scenario, another waiting room. This time it's the waiting room of a specialist. And the specialist is recommending that you have surgery because you have some growth that was found in your physical body. And so you're sitting in that waiting room, and perhaps you feel a little anxious, worried, or uncertain, maybe even a little frightened because you have no idea what is going to happen and you don't know what the outcome would be. So just taking a breath in, I want you now to use your imagination and transport yourself to another waiting room. This time, you're sitting in the waiting room and you're pregnant and you're about to give birth any day. And while you may be feeling a little anxious or maybe even a little worried, really the primary feeling that you're having is one of great excitement and anticipation for the new life that is about to come into this world. 3 different waiting rooms, 3 different experiences, a whole gambit of different feelings. So I invite you today to think about which waiting room are you in? The first waiting room is not available because that was the waiting room that happened prior to this world pandemic. So are you sitting in the waiting room of anxiousness and fear and uncertainty, wondering what's going to happen, not knowing what's going to happen? Or are you sitting in that third waiting room of eager anticipation and excitement for what's going to come? So I'd like to finish there and just use the remaining of our time to talk about where you are or where you notice your family and friends are or your colleagues are, and to share with each other. We're a small group, so I think that if you just wanted to wave, that you could unmute yourself if you know how to do that. And if you don't know how to do that, I think Todd can help us out perhaps.
So we can help with that for sure. We just had one question somebody put in here. Do you have any groups in Mexico City for studying the tools you're talking about? And I love the way you expose the idea.
I'm not sure about Mexico City, but I do know for certain there is someone in Puerto Vallarta, which I have no idea geographically how near or far that is. But if you send me a message, I will source that out for you for certain. There are over 400 centers all around the world, so I don't have all 400 in my memory, but I would be happy to get you that information. You could reach me by using my name, Rev Pat Davies, at gmail.com is the quickest and easiest way. Or if you happen to love Facebook, you could find me on Facebook and friend me through that. So that's revpatdavies at gmail.com.
Thank you, Pat. Does anybody have any questions? Margaret, yes. All in you. There you go.
Oh, you guys are struggling with each other.
Okay, there we go.
My mouse just.
Thank you, Pat. It's not so much a question as some comments of appreciation. I'm at Unity Vancouver, and which is, of course, part of the New Thought.
Our cousin.
Cousins, yeah. And I just want to compliment you on such a lovely, succinct description of the concepts that are underlying, like the cause and effect and the responsibility. But I also really enjoyed your emphasis on the practical tools of the choices that we make with our mind. So I'm also a student of the Course in Miracles, which is all about which part of your mind are you thinking with. So thank you for that excellent summary. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will go next.
Great.
My name is Karambu. I'm from Kenya. And I was very interested in hearing what you're going to say, Reverend Pat, because right now I am reading the book by Dr. Ernest Holmes, This Thing Called Life. And your summary, your beautiful summary of the learnings there was beautiful. And I've been using it in my life. And I will get in touch through Facebook or email, the email that you just gave, to ask more questions. But I just wanted to appreciate
I think she has frozen. And I wanted to express that that I know for sure there is a Center for Spiritual Living in Kenya, because my first teacher in British Columbia actually moved to Kenya and began a center there. But I expect, since she got my email and she'll find me on Facebook, we will reconnect, because it looks like her connection froze, which often happens in other parts of the world. Even in Canada it happens sometimes, or the United States.
It looks like she's dropped off there for a second.
Yeah,
Does anybody
she
else
may
have
pop
any?
back in.
Yes. Does anybody else have a question? So I'll just make a comment, maybe, Pat. I was on a call with a bunch of friends, a Zoom call, so we were socially distancing. But we were noticing that when we went out into the community, one of the things we were noticing was that people are less likely to be walking around with looking at their phones and having headsets on. And when they were lining up to get into places, they were communicating, looking at each other and talking. So I think that may be a really positive thing that's maybe happening out of this pandemic. But do you see anything else happening that's on the positive side of what's of the changes that we're going through?
I would say that I've noticed similarly to you that's definitely happening, and hopefully that is the kind of social distancing that we will continue, where we actually say hello to each other and smile and nod. So what was your question again? Like, what else have I noticed, right?
It's kind of a difficult question, I guess, because I'm putting you on the spot, but we noticed that there's this positive change of people actually being less attached to their electronics and sort of wanting to connect, because I think that people are going to go and stir crazy at home, so they're looking for social interaction. So maybe that's something that may be a permanent thing or a positive shift, or I'm not sure. Maybe you can talk about that.
Well, I'm certainly hoping and praying that it is going to be a that comes out of all of this. But, you know, just like when we're in the waiting room waiting for our child to arrive, we have all kinds of ideas and visions and hopes for what life may be like for our child, but we don't really know for certain what is going to happen. But we do have we do, especially at that time in our lives, we are holding the highest and best vision. And so I choose to hold the highest and best vision for the whole planet. Definitely, folks are much kinder and more generous than perhaps they were in the in last year, and that this year is a whole new experience. In the community that I live, there have been tremendous acts of kindness. There's a whole system set up where people can volunteer to phone people. They could be on a volunteer list to pick up groceries, to go and garden in somebody's yard, and that people that need help in any kind of way can just put in a request, and then they get matched up with someone. We're very fortunate here in Kamloops. We have a wonderful community spirit. Had that prior to this incident, and I know that that will continue, and I fully expect that that will grow and expand here in this community.
Very good. Anybody else have a question? Sorry, Margaret, I'm trying to, there we go.
Yeah.
There you go, you're up.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, just to comment, I love the birthing analogy. I love the 3 waiting rooms and how they reflect how we can be dealing with this. But I guess I want to say too, there's a part of me that is in the third, I'm in the 3rd waiting room thinking, oh, it's just going to be wonderful. But just like having a child, it's not going to unfold exactly. There's going to be, you know, waking up at night and worrying about things and being thrown off guard because it didn't turn out how you anticipated. So it will require that we keep all of those principles to keep ourselves centered, that even though it doesn't unfold the way we envision, and it will have continued turmoil and challenges because not all of us on the planet are at the same level of consciousness, that we continue birthing, right? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And so while we're parenting or birthing this new experience, in our philosophy, we don't believe that we should ignore nor ignore the reality of the situation. So yes, with a newborn comes restless nights, lack of sleep, wondering, are you doing the right thing? Are you, even as our children grow, we still worry about them. But I think that's the human experience, right? Then we also have the bigger picture, or the spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it, and to be always holding that bigger vision, to be always, trusting and knowing that life is unfolding, that our children are growing, that we are growing and expanding, and becoming something brand new, something greater, something grander than what we could even possibly imagine. I mean, the human world has gone through many, many changes since the beginning of the planet, whenever that was. And it's always growing and evolving. And I think for good. So I see that our time is up.
So
and I just want to invite you all to let go of any of those old ideas and invite in all of the new ideas.
Thank you so much.
See you in a few minutes.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.